Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Weekly Poker Showdown brought to you by Party Poker. I am your host, Jaime Staples. This week, we have a conversation with Lynn Gilmartin, someone that I've been watching the poker world for a long time, since the very beginning. She was actually my insight into what was going on in the summer at the big tournaments or around the world. She would do interviews with big players and report on what was happening in the world of poker. Now she works with the WPT. She's doing some acting of herself and I think some playing poker too. So I'm going to ask her about all of that. I'm very excited and it'll be a great conversation. But before we get into that, let's talk about some of the online poker news from this week. We're going to talk about the WPT World Online Championship in a second here, but I wanted to start with the drama bomb that's been going on in the poker world on poker Twitter. That is, Daniel Negranu has been banned from Twitch Poker. Oh my goodness. How did this happen? So let me lay the foundation here. Daniel Negranu has been streaming about an hour of himself every day. He's been doing that from his home in Nevada on Wsop.com in Nevada. And he's been doing it about an hour. So he's streaming, and some guy says something about his wife. I haven't seen the comments. I haven't seen the comment reported, but Danny gets really aggressive against the guy. Really threatens him a couple times in a physical way and a very over-the-top physical way, to where it was just a little bit weird for me. You know, when I saw it, I was like, whoa, man. Like, it's weird that comment got to him so much. But people are human, you know? Like, different things get to different people. I kind of viewed him as immune to that at this point in his career, but it got under his skin, and fair enough. We're all human beings, right? Maybe didn't handle it the best way, but nothing that's going to change my opinion of the guy, and I'm a big fan of Daniel. I think he's done a lot, and I respect him a lot in the game. So anyways, that happens. The next day it's announced that his Twitch channel has been banned. There's terms of service that says you can't threaten physical harm against someone. If you do, your account can be permanently banned. So they reviewed it and they banned his account. Fair enough. But really, sort of the fire was added here when Doug Polk made a video coming out of retirement after several months off, making fun of Daniel in a very aggressive way, though, basically compiling every negative clip he could find, putting it together, and then aggressively, in my opinion, over the top, attacking the guy. And, you know, the whole poker world, or at least most of the poker worlds that's engaged, seemed to really love this. They jumped on, they were laughing. Everyone that seemed to not be a fan of Daniel Negranu took this opportunity to really trash talk the guy. It's just been kind of crazy. Now, it's a couple days since. There's a discussion as I'm recording this podcast about maybe we should play some heads-up poker and solve this. That's coming from Doug. I don't know what's going to come of that. But to me, I'm Team Daniel on this one. I don't dislike Doug Polk, but I dislike the way that he treats Daniel. I think it's too much. I think it's a little bit silly as well. I mean, Doug can stand on his own 2 feet, in my opinion, in terms of what he's accomplished in this game and everything he's done. It seems like every piece of poker content is belittling Daniel Negranu or Vanessa Selps or someone else. And to me, it's just like, man, you're so great at this game. You've accomplished so much. Just be Doug Polk, not the guy that tears down every other people. That's my perspective. And listen, to each their own. He can take his own approach. But for me, it seems like it was kind of like the wolves were unleashed from the poker world. Everyone got to attack Daniel and share why they don't like him or why they think he sucks or whatever. And I don't like that sort of thing. You know, I come from a golf world, and in golf, there's this great history and tradition, right? There's these amazing players that came before, Jack Nicklaus or Arnold Palmer or Ben Hogan or Tom Watson, Gary Player, and they're given a lot of respect, perhaps a little bit too much. You know, maybe there's a little bit too much respect and tradition in golf, and it could be a little fresher. But nonetheless, I came up with that. I grew up with that as a kid, and I really love that part of that game. It makes it feel special. So when I look at the poker world and I think about a Daniel Negranu, or I think about a Phil Hellmuth, or you know, any of the legends that have played the game, Doyle Brunson, I think they deserve a level of respect for where they've come from, what they've accomplished in the game, and what they've done to contribute to what's in front of us, what's in front of me, being a poker pro. So I feel that. I feel some debt of thank you to these players. And it seems like sometimes I'm alone in that sentiment because The rest of the poker world does not seem to agree. And fair enough. Listen, I'm not setting the norms here. I'm not setting the rules. But I don't like to see the over-the-top attacking of guys like Danny Negranu or Phil Hellmuth, even if they do something that was over the line, which I think this was. I think the reaction was far further over the line than the initial clip. So wasn't a fan. I'm curious what you all think of it. Hopefully it all settles out and we can go back to playing cards again pretty soon. Moving on now to the world of online poker results, and it's insane going on this week. There's so many tournaments happening right now, so I'm going to feature some of the highlights from this week. And of course, I'm going to cover the WPT Championship events that have been going on. We started off with PLO 8 or better. Pot Limit Omaha 8 or better is the first championship event at a $3,200 buy-in. And then just finished up as I'm recording this is the $3,200 Pot Limit Omaha Championship event. So these were sort of the mixed games, if you will. I don't want to start a debate as to whether Omaha is a mixed game, but to me, it is. So PLO 8 and PLO, we have our first two champions, and starting this Saturday, we are getting into the no limit portion of the schedule, kicking off with a 3,200, a 320, and a 33 8 max. So it's going to be incredible. I'm going to be hopping in all three of those. But let's check out some of the results from this past week. I've got the lobbies open here. So in the 3,200, we saw Paul Francois win $92,000. That's in the Omaha high-low. So he took down that to win the title. Dan Shack actually in second place in that tournament. So a pretty good result there. Moving on to the $320 buy-in now on the Pot Limit Omaha 8 or better. We have Vyacheslav Mikulich. It's hard. It's a Belarusian name. I'm struggling with it. Congratulations, though, my friend, taking down the first place prize in the 320 for $29,458. And finally, in the PLO 8 or better, we have Stefan Wolfeschultz winning the $33 buy-in. That was good for a first place prize of $8,141. So big congrats to the three winners there. The first championship event, Paul Francois taking down the big one and winning that title. Congratulations, man. I am jealous. I'm big time jealous. Let's move on to the Pot Limit Omaha side now. So instead of the high-low, just straight high. And in the $33 buy-in, we saw Derek Wall from Ireland take it down for $13,506. Congratulations to Derek on that. Moving on now to the $320 buy-ins, Eric Gustav Lars Bystrom won the tournament in the 320, and that was for $49,800. So great stuff there. Moving on now to the 3,200 Pot Limit Omaha Championship event, and Alex Menzano is the champion of this tournament. He wins $176,000. Paresh Doshi, runner-up for $167,000. Looks like there was a deal made there. So Mike Leah, actually a guy from Canada as well, $76,000. Most of you listening to this will know Mike Leah. Benny Glazer stands out at the table. Pretty awesome stuff there. Awesome first 2 weeks of the WPT World Online Championship. But of course, for most people, No Limit Hold'em is the stuff. And we kick off this Saturday with the championship event, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and of course side events going on every day. So make sure you check it out. I'll definitely be in there. Fingers crossed I can report in the podcast next week that I've got a title. Let's see. And now a little bit of reporting in the Wsop, and I have some great news actually. Podcasts run good. Joey Ingram says there's podcasts run good. Maybe that's just for his podcast, but I'm thinking it's for ours too. Maybe we get great guests. I think that might be it. This week, we saw Tony Dunst win his second gold bracelet in the No Limit Hold'em 6-handed event for more than $168,000. But a second bracelet for Tony Dunst, a guy we just had on the podcast, commentator for the WPT. That's so exciting for him. It was great to talk with him. Congratulations, Tony Dunst, on your success. Keep it going, man. Next up, we had Roberto Romanello, a fellow Party Poker pro, win a bracelet this week as well. So he's actually completed the Triple Crown now in his career, which is incredible. I imagine the first Welsh person to do that. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, but I think so. Roberto Romanello, I've had the opportunity to meet this guy. He's such a pleasure to talk to. Great guy. So happy to see that as well. Congratulations to Roberto Romanello on the bracelet. That's going to be it for the online poker news this week. Let's get into the conversation with Lynn Gilmartin. Joining me on the podcast today, I have Lynn Gilmartin. Lynn, you were my insight into the poker world when I first started. So let me tell you my routines, okay? I'm at home in my parents' basement. I'm like, I'm going to be Phil Ivey, right? I'm not old enough to play in the summer. I'm not old enough to play the biggest tournaments in the US. So I would go and I would watch videos of you, Christy Arnett, reporting and like talking to the biggest names in the game. And I was just like, okay, these are the guys I need to know. And you were my eyes into that. So I've been a fan for a long time. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Wow, I'm honored. Thank you. And now I feel really old.
It wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
Couple years.
Well, thank you. That's awesome. I'm glad I was able to give you the insight that you wanted.
It's the way in, right? Like you start playing poker, you don't know how it works at the high stakes or what these big players are talking about. I mean, you need to know. How did you get into live reporting? How did that come about?
It was really randomly. I actually knew nothing about poker when I first fell into the poker world. Which I feel like most people have that same story, and it kind of, once someone falls into it, it's like it just wins you over, and we just stay in it forever, don't we? But yeah, I was fresh out of university and I studied marketing, and I got a marketing job at Crown Casino in Melbourne straight out of uni, which was a dream. And I was making brochures for the poker events and things like that. And so I was always in the poker room, but I had never played, because when you're an employee of the casino, you're not allowed to play, right. And there's only one casino per state. So I'd never actually sat at a live poker game ever before. And but I was always in the poker room, and YouTube was new back then, and we didn't have my boss was really forward thinking, and she saw what Poker News was doing. They would come out for Aussie Millions and stuff. And when we had events throughout the year with Australian celebrities and local sports pros and stuff, she wanted to take advantage and start a YouTube channel and highlight these events that we were having. But because online content was such a foreign concept, no one understood what it was, we couldn't get the budget for it, because, she was just like, let's just make it. And so me, the marketing assistant, was given the microphone because we couldn't hire an actual host. And so I did it. I just started interviewing players when they'd come into the room, and I absolutely loved it. And that's what started the snowball effect. Then I ended up leaving the casino to work for Poker News, which was so exciting. I was in my early 20s. I'd never been to the United States before. I just quit my super secure corporate career to jet over to Vegas and work at the World Series, and I've never looked back. That was a decade ago.
That's got to be an intense feeling. What's going through your mind as you're on the plane and you're like, oh my God, what am I doing? Like I'm flying to Vegas. What's happening?
Seriously. Yeah. And I felt like I just got spat out on another planet when I first got there, because it was a different world back then. We were a little bit less connected. Yes, of course we had the internet, but it just wasn't as, our smartphones weren't as smart back then. And I think I still had like a Nokia 5110 or something. I don't know, but it was, so it was just harder to keep in touch. So I remember just when I arrived, I had never been to the States, let alone Vegas. And I was in the middle of the desert. I've never been in the desert, and the casinos are so big. And I felt like, I could just walk. The place where I was staying, it looked like South Point was just down the street. And so I was like, I'll just walk there, because I had no phone. I had no US dollars. I didn't know how to I just kind of, I was like, I'll just walk there. That looks like there's shops, and I'll figure myself out. And I just started walking towards the casino. And in Vegas, it's like, the more you walk, it's like the casinos just keep getting further and further away. It was the middle of the summer. I really learned the hard way. I was like, where am I? I was just 24-year-old, just lost in the wilderness of America.
It is that optical illusion in the casinos. Like it just lengthens, like it's a horror film. Like, oh my God, how do I get out of here? Yes, absolutely. You've interviewed a lot of people over the years. How many interviews do you think you've done?
Oh wow. I wouldn't have a clue. Over 1,000, I reckon. I've made her, because I do know, I remember when I worked at Poker News, we had the tally of how many videos we'd posted, like you could see on there over the years. And I think at one point I was approaching 1,000 videos, and that was years ago. That was pre-WPT. So, God, I don't even know.
It's a lot.
I don't even know.
It's a lot. You might be the most experienced poker interviewer in the space. I don't know. I don't know if there's an official number out there. So is there an interview that stands out, or a conversation that was like, what happened there, or like most memorable interview moment?
Oh. I mean, my most memorable by far that just stands out so much is because it was so emotional. It was at WPT Montreal when Mike Sexton finally won his title. But the interview that really pulled me was the heads up interview. So he didn't have the title yet and he was so close. And just seeing how much it meant to him, and it's like, he was pulling back, he was holding back his tears, and I'm holding back my tears. And usually heads up interviews aren't that sad, or emotional and moving. It's usually just like, yeah, we're going to get it. Like, how are you going to take it down? But this was just such a beautiful moment. And then the heads up battle went for ages. And it was so late in the morning. I think it was 1 or 2 a.m. by the time he did win. And all of the crew, like when we're filming a show, we're so tired by midnight. And when the short stack keeps doubling up, it's just our worst nightmare.
Absolutely.
We're just like, come on, we got to get this done. And that night, I'm running around in my slippers on the side of the stage. Like everyone was just on the edge of their seats rooting for Mike because he just kept becoming the short stack, but he kept doubling up and we were just going crazy. It was just the best night. I'll never forget that. And so when he won, it was just so rewarding for all of us, not just him. It was really emotional.
It's such a fairy tale, the voice of the WPT for so long. I mean, the face of it. Now he's on the trophy. The trophy's been renamed towards him, which is so fantastic, I thought. For him to win a title, 10, 15 years on. I remember reading that headline. I was like, are you serious? Like he actually won a WPT? It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know. And that was like the biggest goal he had at that time, that he's had to get it. He had to get his name on that cup. It was just what he was striving for 15 years, and he finally made it happen. And and then we had a beautiful Zoom call just last week, just a ceremony to celebrate Mike and this commemoration, calling the Champions Cup the Mike Sexton WPT Champions Cup. So now and again, of course, it was super emotional because his heart is I don't think anyone's heart is in this game as much as Mike's. He's the voice of poker, but he's the heart of it as well. He's just, his whole life is, dedicated to this game, and he just absolutely loves it. So that was emotional too. That was very memorable as well. We all kind of just went around and shared some beautiful stories about him. And
I recommend everyone pick up his book. I mean, I just plug his book all the time now because I listen to it. And I got the same sense what you said. Like what a life and how much passion he has for poker. I completely agree. So how about yourself playing poker? How is your life as a poker player? Obviously, we're in a pandemic right now, but what are your thoughts about poker mid-pandemic? And are you interested in playing when sort of it's back on the live felt?
So I play casually. I play, but I will never call myself a professional by any means. And I love to play. I love it as a hobby. I don't have the emotional stability to depend on it as a full-time thing. That roller coaster is just quite stressful. So I leave that to Angel. He's very good at handling those swings. But I love playing, and I've been playing a lot more now during the pandemic, which I think the whole poker world has. It's been pretty amazing to see how much the industry is thriving during such a lemon of a time in the world. So I'm streaming, which I never thought I'd end up doing. But World Poker Tour, our home for online poker in the US is Club WPT. And we can, it's a subscription service. It's a little different to your normal poker sites. You don't load up a bankroll. You just pay your monthly fee kind of thing. But you can win real money. And it's great for the recreational player that wants to get their poker fix. And it's, there's little to no risk at all. And you can win actual money. My dad is now playing it every weekend. Okay. He joins in on my streams. And so I've been streaming every Saturday afternoon, Sunday morning for me here in Australia. And I thought I would be terrified doing that because I still have always looked at myself as a rookie player. But it's been really fun. It's been a no judgmental zone, and I put it out there. I'm like, tell me when I make mistakes, will you? Let's make me a better player. And I've actually become a little bit more confident, which has been nice. So This poker will always be a part of my life. I'll always be playing. For sure.
Yeah, it's so funny you talk about streaming that way, because it's most of the comments I get is the same thing. Is like I don't think I'm gonna like it, and then people do it, and they're like, I'm getting so much more confidence from this, and it's fun. It's like, oh, people are just like actually kind of cool, and they'll just talk, and they won't criticize you for sucking at the game until you get like 1,000 viewers, and then a lot of people will tell you you suck. But before then, it's all good. It's a chill world out there.
Yeah, exactly. When it's small and intimate, then there's no space for haters. Yeah,
I'm gonna have to check out his stream pretty soon. So,
pressure's on. You're a streaming legend.
So with Angel, your partner, he's a professional poker player, right?
He is.
So,
yes.
How is it being a partner with a professional poker player, and how do you deal with the life of professional poker and the swings of professional poker? Like, I'm just curious how that works in your relationship, because I'm in one myself, and I worry with Rebecca, like, oh man, I don't know. Like, we go on these big swings, like I don't want to worry her. How does she think about it? So I'm curious what your experience is with him playing professional poker.
I love this question because I think it's really important, because most poker players are in a relationship with a non-poker person, right? So it's a very unique world or unique career path, but also at the same time it's similar in a lot of ways. And I just think it's super important to make sure if your partner doesn't understand the game as a career, then it's up to you as the poker player to make sure that you educate them and help them understand, to sort of loosen that, because it's easy to just go on the roller coaster ride, and it's so important to not. And so I just stayed detached. And I think obviously having been in this world for so long, and I'm there in so many losing and winning moments, that it has naturally made me quite detached. So when I see it in Angel, it's easier for me to not. I don't get too, like, yes, of course I get excited with wins, but it's just as important to not get too attached to the wins as it is not to get too attached to the losses, because even when you have a big win, a lot of it's getting reinvested. If you've won 10K, that's not 10K going back onto your mortgage or something. It's not just cash in the bank right away. It's kind of it's a momentum. It's a rolling sum, and I think that's important to teach. It's kind of like being in a partnership with someone in sales too, though. So it's like if someone is in sales, they're going to win and lose clients all the time. They're going to have a rough month where they haven't sold a car or a house or whatever it is in a while, and you have to sort of maintain that your mattress, I guess, to sustain you and to understand. I think a really important thing between a couple is to understand each other's zero, because when you have that savings account and that amount in your bank, zero isn't zero for everyone. Someone's zero might be $1,000. That's my zero. I don't want to go anywhere less. Or 100,000. I don't know. Everyone's in different spots, right? Some people's zero is negative, and they're more than happy to be in debt and know and trust in their game that they can roll it back up.
That's so sick.
Understanding and respecting each other's zero, I think, is really, really important.
I've never heard of that concept. I think that's perfect. After this podcast, I'm gonna be like, Rebecca, what's your zero? I'm gonna find out so that I can head there quickly.
But I think, you know what? I think because I've become quite detached to it, sometimes I'm probably a little insensitive for Angel. Like sometimes when he's having a bad day, I'm like, on to the next. So like I don't entertain the sorrow. And I think that's important too for a partner. If you're watching this and you're a partner of a poker player, yes, you're going to have bad, but poker players are going to have bad days. Don't fall into the sadness. I feel like it's important to be a rock that stays as neutral as possible each time. So yeah, Angel will have his best down days where he's beating himself up because he made bad choices or whatever. If I fall into that with him and he knows that I'm prone to getting anxious or sad if he has a bad day, it's going to make the pressure even worse for a poker player. So just keeping as neutral as possible is really important.
Awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
So you've been in 2 episodes of Neighbors this year. What is Neighbors, and what's up with you and your acting career?
So acting is actually my childhood passion that I've finally resurrected in my 30s, because I moved to LA with the World Poker Tour So I thought, I'm going to jump in an acting class. I quit it as a teenager, and it has just lit up a spark in me that I forgot was there. And so Neighbours is a long-time soap in Australia, and it's very popular in the UK too. And it's been on TV for 35 years, for as long as I've been alive. So I grew up watching this show, and every Australian household watches Neighbours at some point in their life. You know, you become addicted to Neighbours. It's always on at dinner time. It's at 6:30 every night. So usually it's on in the background for every family dinner. And so I booked a guest role. It was only for a couple of episodes. It was earlier this year, which was just such a dream. Young Lynn was so stoked to think that I was going to, and some of the characters that I grew up watching are still on the show. So it was so fun. And the character that I played was actually really cool. She was really fun and just out there, and not out there, but forward, and she just went for what she wanted. And you know what's really fun? So there was a scene where, I'm on a date with one of the characters on the show, and we're sitting in the background of this one scene, and the girl so basically I was stirring up drama, of course. Right. So there was a girl he was seeing, and then he started going on a date with me. So the girl is watching from afar, and there's a shot where she's watching us. And so the director said, you two just sit there and start chatting. But then the guy who I'm on a date with had to get up to pay. And so to make it all natural for the chat and then the moment that he has to get up to pay, I asked the director for 2 of his credit cards because I didn't have my wallet with me. And I played credit card roulette under the table. So I got credit card roulette on Neighbours, which I think only poker players will recognize.
You created a poker Easter egg on Neighbours. I like it.
Yes. In the background of one of my scenes. I put it on Instagram.
That's perfect. Everyone's got to go find that episode now. What else are you working on in acting? Are you working on any other roles, or where are you going to go with it? Like any goals or aspirations? Or
So I've been working on some films, which is so much fun. So we were actually supposed to have our chat last week, and I was we attempted it, and my internet was so bad because I was up in tropical paradise of Australia filming a movie, and it's like a kind of a teen sort of film, like a Disney vibe, Hallmark vibe, and it was a love story about a girl returning home to this tropical island. It's supposed to be an American island, so I have an American accent in it, which will be interesting to see what everyone thinks of my American accent. I'm excited for that.
Cool.
Yeah, it's called This Little Love of Mine, but that'll take a while. It takes ages. Post-production on films is crazy how long it takes for them to come out. So a film I worked on 2 years ago in Australia is finally coming out
2 years?
soon.
Wow. You're not joking. That's a lot.
That's longer, a little bit longer than usual, but yeah, it takes a long time. So that one I have an Irish accent in, which is my actual heritage. I was born in Ireland, so my parents still have their accents. That was easier than I thought, actually, to tap into. But yeah, it's just fun. It's fun to play around with different characters, because even though they're different characters, they're still parts of you. So it allows you to kind of embrace different parts of your personality that you might sort of cage on a regular basis. And also playing around with accents, especially given this world we travel so much, it's different accents are around us all the time. It gives me permission to really dive into learning different accents. It's just really fun. I feel like acting is really helpful for all humans, poker players too, but taking an acting class, you learn so much about yourself. You learn so much about human behavior and communication. Right. And particularly as a poker player, you learn so much about the importance of thoughts and how thoughts are all over your face. If you're a live poker player, taking an acting class or 2 might help a lot.
I like that. So when you're trying to emulate someone, are you in their head? Do you try and be them in your head, or are you what I would think of as acting, which is pretending, and you're pretending, or do you try and go there?
You have to try and go there, and rather than being someone else, you try just bring up a moment in your past and be yourself in that moment. Right. And that's sort of how you kind of tap into it a bit more real. If it's a breakup scene or whatever it is, or if you're in love, or you sort of just remember moments, like maybe it's the early stages of Angel and I when we were dating. I might just sort of go there and think about particular dates that we went on, and then sort of bring that into the scene. And then have those the really important thing is to have the real thoughts. And this is what, when you're at a poker table, or like even if you're telling a story or even hosting, this is always advice I give to people when they're hosting. But like say you're at a poker table and you're attempting a bluff or whatever it is, like our thoughts are just all over our face. And whether we're acting, hosting, bluffing, we have to have thoughts that match what we are portraying. Because if our thoughts are disconnected, if we're saying something and we're supposed to sound super confident, but our thoughts are, you sound like an idiot, oh my God, oh shit, please don't call, or whatever, and it's contradicting the voice, the actual words that are coming out of your mouth, they're not going to land with authenticity. It's never going to be believable. So training yourself to have the same thoughts that are going to, or similar thoughts that are going to help you have that right tone to land it exactly the way you're intending to, will help you get there. It'll help you portray it the way you want it to.
Awesome.
Essentially lie. It sounds awful. It's like here's a trick on how to lie believably.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Just think the right thought.
I feel like I've learned like 3 or 4 poker skills that I need to implement in my game in the last 20 minutes of our conversation. That's helpful. I'm thinking through like, oh man, I was so weak there. How could anyone believe me?
Yeah, don't think that. Just train yourself to think confident thoughts. Like, I'm so strong here. I've got the nuts. Like, please call, please call. If you're just like saying that in your mind, then, we're instinctual beings. We pick up on tells way more than we're even aware. Whether even if you're not a trained poker player, even just in life, we can kind of tell if someone makes us go, there's a reason. And we don't know why. If we can't put our finger on it, we pick up on things. And so and usually it's the small little identifiers in our face that are reflecting what's going on in our brain, and it goes for what we're picking up in other people too. Awesome.
I love it. What's going to be your balance between poker and acting, do you think, going forward?
My job with the World Poker Tour is just such a dream. I have time in between tour stops, when life returns to a tour, to be able to, audition and to take these film roles. This was the films that I've worked on, because usually a film is it's about maybe somewhere between 3 to 6 weeks, depending on the intensity of a film. And so, Adam Pliska, who's my boss on the World Poker Tour, is just like my biggest cheerleader in my acting career. And so they'll move mountains to support and allow me to, like, if I have to take the time to, if I have to miss a certain stop or something, we'll just figure things out. They're so supportive. I'm just so grateful. So I've really been able to balance the two so well. And hopefully it'll continue that way. I feel like it will. And especially given the relaxed nature that poker is, then it's just so easy to fit in around my other stuff. Yeah,
absolutely. So you're a holistic health coach. So I wanted to ask you about some of your tips for poker players, because you're around poker players all the time. You probably got into health coaching because of poker players, because we're all over the place. Exactly. So just a very broad question to you. What advice would you give to poker players to be healthier and be more prepared to perform well when they play?
Yeah, plan ahead. Like, I don't understand how, like, I pick on Angel all the time for this. It's not shocking that you're going to be hungry at lunchtime. Oh, surprise, you've been eating lunch for 30-something years. Like, why are you not like, it's not a spontaneous thing. It's, you eat probably 3 meals a day. So you plan ahead. Don't wait until you're starving to then go make a decision, because that's when we make bad decisions and we just eat whatever's close and whatever's easy. And especially because our breaks are so short as a poker player, you don't have time to go and sit down and order something or to cook something. If you're playing online, you don't have time. So planning ahead is crucial. Buy those healthy snacks, pre-cook something the night before so you can just heat it up on your 5-minute break when you're playing online. Like, if you have someone there at home to help you, fantastic. But a lot of us don't, and you just need to plan ahead. There's no question. Just plan ahead. You're going to be hungry. Think about it.
That makes sense. Yep. There are a lot of days in Grindhouse where everyone's just like, oh man, there's no food. We have 7 tables. What are we going to do? Okay, I guess it's pizza then. That's how it goes. Yeah.
Yes. Don't fire up the tables until you've got your snacks. They're just as important as everything else that you have to consider as a poker player.
Great. So you've traveled a ton. Do you know how many like stops you've been to, or how many countries? Like, do you keep track? Or
You know what? I love that you asked this. Actually, I have been keeping track, but only since 2011. So I missed like the first couple of years.
Right.
But I'm going to show you. So I send all my itineraries to it. So it covers. This is not a promotion, but it counts all the miles I've traveled, and it gives you the total. Like every year, it'll give you your totals, which is really handy for. Oh no, I can't. I'm not signing in. But it's something crazy. So 32 countries, and 1.2 million miles. I think I've done. I think I've circled the planet 54 times.
Oh my goodness.
Yes. I wish I could show you, but my thing is logged out and I don't know how to log in now. But yeah, it's 54 times it says that I've traveled. I've circled the planet, and yeah, I'm pretty sure it was one. I think it's more than one. Yeah, over 1 million miles.
How many
at least.
hours in an airplane?
Isn't that insane?
That's insane. That is a lot
Too
of time.
many.
Wow. So most memorable spots you've been to. It doesn't have to be related to poker, just wherever. And then also travel tips.
Okay. Travel tips. I love this. Travel tips. Always plan ahead again. Like I love to pack.
Sensing a theme.
I love to. Yes. Pack snacks like for the plane as well, because then otherwise you just and I am guilty of this too. I just always reach for the chocolate or whatever that they might have on the plane, But if you pack like the little protein shakes, the sachets of stuff, protein bars, stuff like that, it just really helps. Throw 10 of them in your suitcase because you'll just thank yourself later that you have them and you've thought of it. And then also as soon as you land, just look up and try find like a juice bar or some kind of healthy cafe that's near the casino or near your hotel. That's just like the first thing that I'll look up. So then becomes my go-to, at least to sort of get started. But also I always pack hangers. I pack all my clothes on hangers. So now it just makes life so much easier. So if I pack everything into my suitcase already hung on hangers, when I get to my hotel, it literally takes me 15 seconds to unpack. I unzip my suitcase, I pop out the hangers and I hang them up and I'm done. Because if I don't do that, I'm living in like a disaster zone. Like as soon as I open my suitcase, things are thrown everywhere and then I just have clothes all over the floor for a week. And it's miserable because when you come home from a day of working or whatever and you're tired, you're not going to start tidying up. And then it's depressing, whether you're aware of it or not. It's so depressing when your space is messy. So pack everything on hangers. It just makes your life so much easier.
Why doesn't everyone do that? Is that a standard thing? Because I've never considered doing that.
It takes up extra room. So sometimes I'll bring 2 small suitcases rather than like one big one, because it's not the most effective space-wise, but it just helps so much.
Are you one of those people that like has space in your suitcase? Like it isn't just jam-packed and you have to like sit on it to close it? Because that's every time I travel. Yeah.
I'm sitting on it every time. Okay. Yeah, it's terrible. Angel's great like that. He always has so much space. And so then I'm always sliding things in there without him knowing. I'll just slip in a pair of shoes or something under his shirts and he won't notice because he always has space.
So with so many times around the world now, what's it been like in the pandemic? I mean, life is so different. And I imagine for yourself, it's just like a completely different world. So what's it been like for you through this whole experience?
Somehow I've had, I feel guilty saying this because like I said, it's such a lemon in the world, but it has been kind of somewhat of a magical couple months, the last like month or two for Angel and I. So we were in lockdown in LA for about 3 months, and which, we were just working so much, playing, and I was creating shows for the World Poker Tour from home, and I actually quite enjoyed it. I mean, I love, we're always home, so it was quite easy for us to adjust to that. It was no big deal, and we just enjoyed it. And I enjoyed actually cooking more and just becoming a lot more grounded at home. And then out of nowhere, this audition came up for my film that I was telling you about that I just did. And I was so shocked because I thought, what? The world has stopped. How on earth is there an audition right now? And so I sent off the audition thinking I'd never hear back as well because it's in Australia. Why would they book someone overseas? The borders are shut. It just, I just felt like mountains would have to move. But somehow I booked the role and I couldn't believe it. And when it was looking like it was leaning my way, like I hadn't even got the contract yet, the only way Angel could come into Australia with me is if we were married, because we've been together 9 years, but we were always putting off the idea of getting married. It wasn't an urgent thing for us. We were like, we don't need it, whatever. And plus our families are all over the planet. It was just too overwhelming to think of.
Yep. Same spot right now. Yep. It's a tough one.
Right. Okay. Well, let me tell you, we decided on a Wednesday, we were driving to Vegas on the Friday, and we just got shotgun married. And it was the greatest thing that we could have done. We had the best day. Like, I remember when I first went to Vegas and I saw like the drive-through weddings and those chapels, and I thought it was so tacky. I would never do anything like that. This was the best way to get married. So we drove from LA to Vegas and we drove back again the same day because there were no hotels open and everything because obviously of the pandemic. And we did a drive-through wedding, COVID approved, so we didn't have to wear masks. So we sat in the car, we drove up to a drive-through window and like we were ordering fries at McDonald's, and we got married in the car. And even though it sounds just horrific to maybe a lot of romantic people, it was so romantic. It was so beautiful. We spent the 4 hours driving there, just dreaming up our future and talking. And there was no one else to worry about except just us. Mm-hmm. There was zero stress. We had no one else to small talk with. There's no family members you haven't seen in 10 years that you've got to entertain. It would cost us next to nothing. And it was just lovely. And then we got some takeout sushi and we ate it in the car. And then we drove back again and we stopped halfway in the desert and took some selfies and photos on our iPhone just so we had wedding photos. And they're the greatest pictures. They're just so cool. There's all these cactus in the background. And and then we hopped on the next flight to Australia. I booked the movie, got the contract, hopped on the next flight to Australia. We then had a 2-week quarantine, which Australia is doing. I don't know if you know about that.
I think we have one too in the UK at the moment. I think so.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yes. Finally started doing it, but it's super effective. So the military takes you from the airport, puts you in a hotel for 2 weeks. But we got treated so well. And I mean, we were stuck in a tiny little hotel room for 2 weeks, but we got fed 3 meals a day. We got phone calls every day from the government and from the Red Cross, just checking in on us to have a conversation and make sure we're, our mental health is all right and that we had everything we needed. And I was so grateful and impressed by the whole process, even though we were just stuck in this little box. But that was our honeymoon. And I thought that what a great way as well to start a marriage, because if we can survive quarantine for 2 weeks, then we can thrive for a lifetime together. So yeah, it's just been I'll always look back on this wild pandemic as with nice memories. We've made some nice memories. So I'm married. I'm a
Congratulations. That's amazing. That's very sweet. That is a very sweet wedding story. I feel like that one will stand out. It's not a standard wedding. Everyone sits down. It's a special quarantine wedding. I like it. Yeah.
Right. And now Angel made a really good point too, because we were like, we'll have a ceremony, we'll have a party at some point. We said that. And we did have like a little virtual one with our parents. My mum's so cute. She went and bought a bottle of champagne, a little cake and stuff, and had it at their house, and we did it over FaceTime. But Angel made a good point that like every time we catch up with friends now over the next year, we're going to be toasting to our wedding every time. So it's kind of like a nice way of drawing it out and then having that one-on-one celebration with your loved ones and your friends more intimately, and it's drawn out rather than just whacking it all into one night where it's so intense and you can't speak to anyone more than 30 seconds each and you're kind of just, a pinball all around and you've just blown way more money than you probably should. And then you start your marriage kind of stressed. So, I mean, I'm not against weddings. Of course, they're beautiful. It's lovely.
It makes a lot of sense.
If anyone is putting off a wedding.
This is a thing.
I'm a big advocate for the elopement.
Two more questions. One is, how do you think poker is going to be different when we return to playing live? Like, do you expect there to be a lot of changes in how we do things, or we will pick up status quo? What do you think?
It's a tough one. I mean, I think like in the short term, in the immediate return back, it's going to feel a little different. And yeah, things are probably going to be different. Who knows? Like, as we're seeing now, we're seeing these, protective shields and obviously all the masks. And I mean, you just notice in real life going out, like every cafe or if they're open wherever you are, but like there's just over in Australia, we have to be like writing down our names to every cafe we go into, and the sanitizers everywhere, and that's kind of our new reality. But I just think eventually, once we get through this pandemic, once there's a vaccine or whatever, like we're going to move on. Life will return, to how it was, and I'm sure, of course, it's going to come back. I mean, it will eventually be back to where it was. Just when that will be, who knows? So we're just waiting. I don't know, but we that's what humans do. We adapt. We go through our junk and we adapt and we find homeostasis again. So we'll get there at some point. We're just in the storm right now.
Okay. And this year you were inducted into the Australian Poker Hall of Fame. So big congrats on that. It's been a big year. Just wanted to ask sort of what that award meant for you. And in general, if you just had any thoughts in regards to the Hall of Fame in Australia for poker.
Well, it meant so much to me that, like, I couldn't believe that, when it was first, when I was first told about it, I just was shocked. I was like, what? Are you kidding? I just, the Hall of Fame is full of Aussie legends that I always looked up to and was so nervous standing on the sidelines with my microphone ready to interview, like a little mouse, just so scared to approach them, like Jeff Losandro and Joe Hasham and Tony G. And, it's so now to be in this lineup in the Hall of Fame alongside them, I just can't believe it, because I feel like it's all gone past in lightning speed. Like, I've always considered myself the young new one, and no, it's been a decade now. I'm not that anymore. So yeah, it just was a big wow. And it's just a huge honor. And I had said in my speech that, what I do is such a privilege, because I just have so much respect for this game and for all of the players. And, it's just when what you do is easy, and when you're grateful and it still feels somewhat of a hobby, and you just love what you do, to then get an award for it, it's like, what? No, like it feels strange. So it's just been a privilege. So to be awarded and recognized for something that I feel so honored and grateful and privileged to be doing, it's such an honor. I'm speechless.
Very well deserved though, Lynn. I really appreciate all you've done for the game over the last decades. You, like I said, you were my eyes into the poker world. So I have fond memories as a 19-year-old, like, oh, I'm going to be there, and like, she's going to interview me one day. So it's been a pleasure to talk with you. Thanks for coming on.
Such a pleasure. And I absolutely love everything that you're doing. You're just killing it. You're such a legend of the game yourself. So it's a privilege to be chatting with you.
Very kind of you. All right. Thanks, Lynn. Before I let you all go for the podcast this week, I am going to run our weekly competition, hashtag JSPokerHero. All you have to do is tweet out using that hashtag, JSPokerHero, with your answer to this question, and we're going to choose 2 people to win $109 satellite tickets to the World Online Championship, WPT World Online Championship. So pretty awesome stuff. All you got to do is tweet using the hashtag. I mean, this is free money, and it's a good game. It's good times, okay? So now, last week's champion was Pilafita18, correctly answering the WPT event. Tony Dunst managed to win, was World Poker Tour Caribbean 3500 main event. So congrats on that. You win a 109 WPT World Online Championship satellite ticket. This week, the question is, Darren Elias not only holds the record for the most WPT wins with 4, but also holds the record for the most final tables, 12, and cashes 38. That is insane. I just read that stat for the first time. Are you serious, Darian Elias? Oh my goodness, man. Which American player holds the record for the most WPT main event wins? There will be 2 winners decided at random. Must reply with the hashtag WPTWOC and JSPokerHero. So you got 2 hashtags, okay? WPTWOC and hashtag JSPokerHero. Tag me too, because I want to see your answer. Thank you all so much for checking out the show this week. We're going to be back again next week with another awesome guest. I think we have Brad Owen next week. It's going to be awesome. Live poker vlogger, etc. That's it for now. Until next time, we'll see you later.